Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Energy Healing for Trauma, Stress, and Chronic Illness. Uncover and transform the subtle energies that are causing your greatest hardships. By Cyndi Dale. Narrated by Leslie Howard. Publisher's note: this audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type Energy Healing for Trauma, Stress, and Chronic Illness into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the Supplemental Content section, please enter the access code CHAKRA, spelled CHAKRA, and then click the Unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. Disclaimer: the information in this book is not intended to be used to diagnose or treat a medical, emotional, or behavioral condition for you or another person. To address social, emotional, mental, medical, behavioral, or therapeutic issues, please consult a licensed professional, such as a therapist, psychiatrist, or physician. The author and publisher are not responsible for any conditions that require a licensed professional, and we encourage you to consult a professional if you have any questions about the use or efficacy of the techniques or insights in this book. References in this book are given for informational purposes alone and do not constitute an endorsement. All case studies and descriptions of persons have been changed or altered so as to be unrecognizable. Any likeness to actual persons, living or dead, is strictly coincidental. Introduction. Acts must be carried through to their completion. Whatever their point of departure, the end will be beautiful. Jean Genet, The Thief's Journal. Translated by Bernard Frechtman. I've been a professional intuitive and energy healer for more than 30 years. Most of the 65,000 people I've engaged with in that time have been dealing with the effects of unhealed trauma. That's a big statement, I know. But that's how prevalent unhealed trauma is. Moreover, most of my clients with unhealed trauma are also struggling with chronic illness and other chronic life challenges, such as relationship, financial, or self-esteem problems. To me, an energy healer, this overlap is no coincidence. Time after time, person after person, I've been able to trace a clear, if complex, connection between chronic challenges and unhealed trauma. It doesn't surprise me at all when I learn that 6 in 10 adults in the United States have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 of those adults have more than one. When people with chronic illnesses and challenges come to me, they usually tell me similar stories. They've addressed their problems in a wide variety of ways, including various branches of allopathic medicine, psychotherapy, and complementary and alternative medicine practices, and maybe they've experienced a certain degree of healing or relief, but something is still missing. They may not know what it is, but something is keeping them from feeling the way they want to feel, the way they know, deep in their hearts, they could feel. Whether that's happy or comfortable, safe or loved, whole or free. Something is keeping them from healing to their optimal potential. The piece they're missing is energy, or more specifically, subtle energy. In our work together, I introduce them to the unseen but very powerful energies that govern everything in our world, including us. Together, we look at the various parts of their subtle anatomy, including the invisible centers, fields, and pathways within and around our physical body, and how these parts have been or are being affected by subtle energies. I show them how, very often, the unaddressed energetic damage from traumatic stressors and our subtle anatomy's response to them eventually manifests in the physical body as chronic illnesses. which include autoimmune disorders. It can manifest on the physical level as other chronic challenges too, such as addictions, learning disabilities, behavioral concerns, or recurring psychological, emotional, or relationship patterns that don't seem to shift no matter how they're addressed. Together, my clients and I uncover the subtle energies of trauma, the energies involved in the stress response the trauma has triggered, and the energies underpinning their chronic illnesses and challenges. Then we work with their subtle anatomy and other more helpful energies to move them toward the healing they seek. I've watched as a young mother with lupus gradually became healthier, finally able to hold her toddler son without wincing. I've seen an agoraphobic grandfather track his fear of the world back to an early childhood event and, for the first time in 20 years, grab his cane and start walking to the store. I've been honored to support military veterans experiencing the long-term effects of witnessing the events of war, individuals with addictions and allergies, codependents stuck in bad relationships, and people with nearly every other type of concern. With this book, it is my honor to share with you the same concepts and techniques I've shared with them, so that you can experience the same help and healing. Your guide to addressing the energies of challenge. In chapters 1 and 2, you'll learn more about the nature of energy, including how it operates and the two different kinds of energy, physical and subtle. The end of chapter 1 presents a special explanation, a case study of how you might approach SARS-CoV-2, the virus that caused a world pandemic through the disease of COVID-19, starting in 2019 to 2020. Then, in the rest of part 1, I'll describe in detail how specific forms of subtle energy, called forces, impact us first during a crisis and can then cause ongoing challenges if their effects are left unaddressed. Chapter 1. How trauma begets challenges. Trauma leads to chronic challenges, and energy is the core reason. In this chapter, you'll become acquainted with this book's fundamental concepts. The first of a multi-chapter guide lists various types of trauma and challenges the book can help you address. Chapter 2, all the energetics you must understand. In this chapter, you'll learn more about energy, including energetic signatures, forces, and our energetic and subtle anatomy. Chapter 3, your physical anatomy under stress. This chapter explores all things physical in relation to the energetics of trauma and chronic illness. Basically, I'll present an up-to-date biology lesson about trauma and trauma-related stress, including a reference guide listing how the body's various systems react to the stress of trauma. Chapter 4, your subtle anatomy under stress. Here, I'll show how your subtle self, consisting of organs, channels, and fields, reacts to and can be damaged by the energies of trauma and subsequent trauma-related stress. This chapter also covers several subtle energy, or spiritual, factors that can contribute to the effects of trauma and our chronic challenges. Chapter 5, how the physical and subtle interact in response to trauma. When we're under siege by disrupting energies, both our physical and subtle anatomies respond immediately and over time, sometimes even over multiple lifetimes. Case studies will reveal why the energies of trauma stick around so long and are often complex. The Trauma and Challenges Guide from Chapter 1 will be expanded on here, giving you insights on specific concerns. Chapter 6. The roles of grieving and codependency in healing. We need to grieve life's traumas. If we don't, not only do we become stuck in a shock response, but we can also develop codependent attitudes, behaviors, and relationships. This chapter will explore both grieving and codependency, and the energetic bridge between them. The third section of the Trauma and Challenges Guide will address how grieving and codependency affect specific trauma and chronic challenges. The effects of trauma, trauma-related stress, and chronic challenges can be complex, and Part 1 contains a lot of in-depth information. To help you sort out how the details apply to you, I've included personal assessment tools in the bonus materials. The insights you glean from these assessments will prepare you for Part 2, where you'll find a wealth of healing techniques that apply the concepts from the previous chapters. Chapter 7. Foundational Techniques for Healing Trauma and Challenges at the Subtle Energy Level. Ready to fill up your Subtle Energy Toolkit? In this chapter, you'll learn my top 10 subtle energy techniques for transforming trauma and subsequent challenges. If you're acquainted with some of my other 25-plus energy medicine books, you'll recognize a few of these processes. However, they have been customized for the purposes of this book. Chapter 8. A Subtle Energy Approach to Healing Trauma. Building on techniques from the last chapter, you'll also acquire new ones in order to become freed from traumatizing experiences. Chapter 9. Addressing the subtle energies behind chronic illnesses. The deep inner healing wisdom and processes offered in this chapter will help you alleviate chronic illnesses, including autoimmune disorders. Subtle vehicles for addressing chronic illness are primarily covered here. Physical assists are covered in the next chapter. A special guide at the end of the chapter lists subtle energy insights for a variety of specific chronic illnesses. Chapter 10. Additional techniques to support your healing. Subtle healing processes are greatly enhanced when supported by real-life changes. This chapter will address challenges related to issues like addictions and allergies, using both subtle energy and physical antidotes. Appendix, a 4-phased technique for energetically healing SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. This staged healing will enable you to clean up the viral attachments, clear the pathways of involved forces, disempower any present or potential viruses, and enable protective energetic boundaries. Before you embark on your own healing adventure, let me share a few additional insights that I've gleaned from my years of working with clients. First, the healing you'll be doing will be deep, and deep healing frequently takes time. Your chronic illnesses and challenges didn't develop overnight, and they usually don't disappear overnight either. While I have seen people experience sudden and dramatic improvements as they work with subtle energy, other changes happen gradually. Sometimes you make what you regard as a great leap forward, and then nothing seems to happen for a time. Please trust that however your healing unfolds, it will do so on exactly the schedule that is ideal for you. Second, subtle energy healing is a piece usually missing from our overall healing efforts. It is not a replacement for other pieces, such as allopathic care or other forms of complementary care. The effects of trauma and our responses to it are multifaceted, and your approach to healing needs to be multifaceted too. Sometimes subtle energy healing can help conventional treatments work more effectively. Sometimes conventional treatments are needed to set the stage for successful subtle energy work. Don't deny yourself the benefits of medicine or medical advice or the support of well-trained therapists or practitioners. If you do, you're just leaving out other important pieces of your healing. Finally, know that you're not alone. As I shared at the beginning of this introduction, trauma and its effects are so prevalent that they're almost a universal experience. But as the many people I've worked with will tell you, it's also something that you can address and heal. And by doing so, you're contributing to a greater healing. In our chaotic world, darkness can so easily seem to eclipse the light. For this reason, every single soul on this planet is called to shine right now. By healing your deep-seated challenges, you'll emerge as the burnished ember of goodness that you are, ready to contribute your unique light to the world. You've had the strength to live with your trauma and the challenges that evolved from it. Now it's time to gain the power you need to free yourself from them. Because you're listening to this book, I believe that you're ready. I believe in your ability to heal. And I believe in you. Part 1. Physical and subtle. The energies of trauma, stress, and chronic illness. You want to make significant strides in your health and wellness, and you deserve to. It's far easier to recover from your life challenges if you understand what created them. The storyline of hardship isn't as straightforward as basic biological or therapeutic approaches assert. We are made of energy, physical and subtle. This means the stuck spots in our life are anchored by both types of energy. In fact, I like to tell clients that they are composed of light, sound, soul, and clay, or earthly elements. All of these components vibrate at both substantial and insubstantial levels. Part 1 provides you with in-depth explanations of your complete human self, which is concrete, immaterial, and everything in between. As we progress through the first 6 chapters of this book, prepare for the final landing place, the grieving heart. Above all, healing involves honoring our feelings. At one level, they can act like adhesives, binding our traumas, stress, and chronic illnesses, but they also help set us free. Along the way, personal assessment questionnaires that can be found in the bonus material will guide you to look at your own challenges through the lens of each chapter's information. You'll be ready to put all this information to good use in Part 2. Chapter 1. All challenges are energy challenges. Healing is a matter of time, but it is sometimes also a matter of opportunity. Hippocrates, translated by W.H.S. Jones. Maureen was a 60-year-old high school teacher suffering with constant fatigue, aches and pains, arrhythmia, an erratic heartbeat, lung infections, depression, anxiety, and uncontrollable moods. By the time she came to me, she'd already been to dozens of medical doctors. Their diagnoses included an autoimmune disorder, hormonal imbalances, and idiopathic pain, which basically means pain we don't know the cause of. Her holistic practitioners had suggested she had Lyme disease, leaky gut syndrome, past life challenges, mold infections, and more. The treatments she'd tried included a mild form of chemotherapy, cognitive therapy, vitamin supplements, and hypnosis. I could tell that lying deep inside Maureen were problematic energies that had never been addressed and cleared. In fact, there was an aspect of Maureen's self that was locked away, trapped in these energies, unable to become free and healthy. It wasn't hard to identify the events that put these energies in place. Over a few months in her childhood, Maureen had undergone one catastrophe after another. A tornado had wiped out her family's farm. Soon after, her father had died from a heart attack. Her mother then developed a serious mold infection in her lungs and began losing control of her emotions, often yelling at the kids. Maureen was still experiencing the suffering she'd been through during that horrific period of her childhood, because the energies associated with those events were still present and active, not just in her physical body, but also in her energy anatomy. What do I mean by energies? In this chapter, I'll provide you a simple snapshot of energy and trauma to prep you for the detailed information in the rest of this book. Why all challenges are energy-based. Energy is information that moves, and it comprises absolutely everything, including both the tangible and intangible aspects of ourselves. energy underlies every life disruptor and resulting hardship, physical, psychological, and spiritual. It also underlies every good thing in life and the resulting joy and peace, physical, psychological, and spiritual. This means that powerful changes can occur if we work on an energetic level to fix them. To understand how, you first need to know that there are two types of energy, physical and subtle. Most healing processes, such as the use of prescription medicine, specific diets, physical therapies, simple cognitive processes, and even the old adage, time heals all wounds, are based on physical energy. The physical universe certainly counts when we're working toward alleviating our adversities. In fact, there are biological reasons why our body requires, but also resists healing. And there are physical energy modalities that support healing. The key to freedom, however, often lies in the other energetic domain, that of subtle energy. Subtle energies, also called psychic, intuitive, and quantum energies, are inseparable from the material self. They aren't just some mystical phenomena that float around haphazardly. They actually underpin and organize physical reality, including your physical body. I propose that very specific subtle energies are the main cause of chronic illness and other intractable challenges. During a crisis, we're hit with a type of subtle energy called forces. Any of the 6 vital forces, environmental, missing, modern, physical, psychological, and spiritual, can create problems during the crisis itself. But it's the stress response set off by the forces that can eventually lead to chronic illness and other lingering hardships. As we continue to be afflicted by the original forces, those forces trigger mechanisms within us that surround the wounded self, the aspect of our psyche most afflicted by the traumatic event, in a bubble of shock. Unless this wounded self is freed from the shock bubble, it will continue to suffer in darkness, triggering new energetic responses that cause even more damage. What makes forces destructive or harmful is not the energies themselves, but whether or not they're compatible with our original energetic signature. This is our master energetic code, the culmination of everything unique about our body, mind, and soul. This signature determines what external energies will nourish us or harm us, whether they enter during life events, through food or other physical substances, or as subtle feelings and thoughts. Whether we're facing a one-time crisis or an ongoing challenge, we'll be able to respond to the energies that match our original energetic signature, and will react negatively to those that don't. I define trauma as the damage caused by the initial disruptive, incompatible force, which is delivered from outside of ourselves. Because trauma is inflicted outside to inside, it must be healed the same way. We require help from another person, living being, or even a spiritual guide or the spirit. In Part 2, I'll give you a plethora of techniques that will enable you to energetically heal trauma in this way, from the outside to the inside. Beyond that initial trauma, there is the damage caused by secondary energies or secondary forces. These secondary energies or forces are created from within, during our system's physical and energetic response to the initial trauma. If they aren't addressed, they remain stuck in our body and our energy systems, continuing to cause more harm that, over time, most often manifests as chronic illness or other ongoing challenges. Because these secondary energies are self-generated and harm us from the inside, they must also be energetically healed from the inside. I'll provide you with insights and techniques that will allow you to accomplish this deep inner metamorphosis. When I looked at Maureen's conditions from an energetic point of view, I could see that her physical and subtle energy anatomies, had been compromised and traumatized by forces that greatly mismatched her original energetic signature. Because no one had been available to help her grieve and recover from the traumatic childhood events, the aspects of her that had been traumatized and encased within a shock bubble had never been freed. Meanwhile, the original force and its energetic effects had been absorbed into both her body and energy systems, where they lingered, morphed, and began damaging her physical and subtle anatomies from the inside, eventually triggering a chronic illness. She needed help to heal both outside to inside and inside to inside. In Chapter 2, we'll delve more deeply into our physical and subtle energy anatomies, our original energetic signatures, and the forces and their energetic effects. You'll learn what helped Maureen as well. But first, I want to illuminate how important this brave new approach to trauma is by discussing a crisis that has impacted the entire world, the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. In the next section, I will show you how to look at the virus from an energetic point of view, and then I will provide a fourfold technique in the appendix to actually work with issues related to this virus. Energetics in SARS-CoV-2. In 2019, a new plague, caused by a virus, began to spread across the globe. It was officially named SARS-CoV-2. In its wake was a disease called COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2 is one of many types of coronaviruses, which have been around for centuries. They typically affect birds and mammals and are named for the crown or corona-like spikes on their surfaces. SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, and CoV means coronavirus. A 2 was added to the label to distinguish this SARS virus from the first that caused an outbreak in 2002, SARS-CoV. The actual disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 is labeled COVID-19 as an acronym for Coronavirus Disease 2019. Said again, SARS-CoV-2 is the virus that caused the disease named COVID-19. At every level, SARS-CoV-2 is the source of significant trauma. It can and does kill, regardless of race, age, or gender, but is most serious to the elderly and people with compromised immune systems. Transferred airborne, it lives for various ranges of time on surfaces, but it doesn't just stay in place. It spreads fast, and it doesn't read the stop signs we use to separate one country or street from another. This virus has no bounds. Equally tricky is the fact that not everyone with the disease knows they have it. Often it causes few to no symptoms. This means that the infected can distribute the virus without their knowledge. Microbes like SARS-CoV-2 can turn any of us into an agent of death. People most seriously impacted become very sick. The most common signs are fever, tiredness, and a dry cough. The disease can also result in aches and pains, congestion, sore throat, diarrhea, and a loss of taste. The most serious turn is signaled by difficulty breathing, and then a patient is near the end. I'm sure you'll have noticed that so far I've mainly been talking about a few of the physical facets of the disease. Why? After all, aren't we going to learn an energetic approach to healing in this book? We are energetic beings, but that means we are physical as well as subtle. The physical counts. As the pandemic taught us, physical isn't enough. We must also arrive at healing assessments and antidotes by peering beneath the physical surface of a challenge to consider all other factors. And there are a lot of angles through which to view SARS-CoV-2. We know it causes stress. Just the thought of living on the same planet as this virus creates anxiety and worry. As I'll point out over and over, stress can all too easily lead to trauma, even more so when the enemy is invisible. We are dealing with a virus that is distributed environmentally and endangers our lives, even while it potentially threatens our ability to make a living, create intimacy, and feel safe in the world. Grief lies in its wake, either because of a loss of innocence, our own health, or loved one's loss.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?